Well, my name is Tom Severson. I'm a pastor here at Elgin Vineyard. And around 18 years ago, we were praying at our other location. And in the middle of the prayer meeting, one of the African-American mothers in prayer in the church announced, "The Lord spoke to me, and we need to be out in the streets feeding people." Shortly thereafterward, someone asked me for money for breakfast, and I said, you haven't eaten breakfast? You know, there's no place to eat breakfast? And he said, "No, there's a soup kitchen at night, but there's no place to get breakfast." So I gave him some money, but I got to thinking about, the African-American gal calling for what the Lord was calling us to do, and then his plea. And we decided to then open at 7 in the morning and serve breakfast.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I want to welcome you here to Elgin Vineyard Breakfast. You are always welcome here.
We try to get people off the street. Paz would make people leave at 7, and Wayside wouldn't open until 8, so we opened at 7 to 8 as a Gap ministry, a place for them to come to get warm and get food. The philosophy of the ministry is to get known, to be known, that we get trusted, and then we can take people off the streets and get them into rehab so they could change their lives.
About 5 years ago, I was out in the streets, and I had a bad cocaine addiction.
When I got into my early 40s, I accepted the Lord, had a beautiful ministry in the Lord. I took my eyes off the Lord, and I ended up backsliding. I met somebody that introduced me to cocaine. I had never been a drug addict, and I tried it, and I was hooked on it for 3 years.
I found myself selling a lot of drugs, and the money I would make off of it, I would buy more drugs. I would spend all my money on drugs, so I found myself homeless at one point.
Had a job, but I was still doing my thing after I got off a job, still messing with the drugs. I ended up losing my job, which was very humiliating.
I remember it was cold outside, and I was walking across the Kimball Street Bridge, and I was at the point where I had thoughts of suicide, just jumping into the water and going over the falls and just ending everything.
We really feel we're sometimes at Hell's Gates, one last grab. Here's the gospel. Christ loves you. Here's food. Here's an opportunity for change.
Back then, I would come to the breakfast ministry every day. Whenever anybody out there is homeless, everybody would pass the word around. You can always go eat at the Vineyard Church.
I ended up in Paz, a shelter here in Elgin. And a homeless lady told me about the Vineyard and said they serve breakfast and coffee. I'm a coffee drinker.
And I would come to the morning breakfast, and I would eat, and there was people there that would talk to you and pray with you, and told them I was fed up with what I was doing and how I was living. And they led me to a rehab at the Wayside Ministries in Aurora called the Master's Touch Program. And I stayed there for 6 months. It was a 6-month program. But I give the credit to the people at the breakfast ministry for leading me there. I got more in tune with God there. I ended up getting on my knees and praying to God, asking Him to take my cocaine addiction away.
And I didn't give up everything overnight. It took time, because God had to work on us. And I gave up the drugs, the alcohol, the cigarettes was the last to go. I gave those up. And then the Lord blessed me where I became a part of the ministry, like the part of the breakfast ministry.
I think that when the church is ministering to the poor, that our need for apologetics and winning the argument and all this stuff, it just goes way down, because people are seeing love, and love wins every argument, hands down. We just know that Christ's love wants to penetrate deep in our hearts. Whether we're homeless, whether we're clean, unclean, sinner, saint, whatever our lot in life is, He wants to teach us to say it's well with our soul in Christ. And so that's all we want to do, is point people to Him. And He takes over from there, like He always does with each of our lives.